I stopped saving money. Here's what happened. Most people are told the same thing from the moment they earn their first paycheck. Save money. Put something aside every month. Build a cushion. It sounds responsible. It sounds smart. And for most of your life, you follow that advice without questioning it. But what happens when you stop? What actually happens to your financial life when you make the deliberate decision to stop saving money the traditional way and try something completely different? That is exactly what this video is about. And the answer is not what most people expect. For years, I did everything right by conventional standards. Every month, a portion of my income went straight into a savings account. I watched the balance grow slowly, felt the comfort of having something set aside, and told myself I was being responsible. But something never felt right. The number was growing, but my actual financial position was not improving in any meaningful way. I was saving, but I was not building anything. There's a difference between those two things, and most people never stop long enough to notice it. The problem with traditional saving is not the habit itself. The habit of setting money aside is genuinely valuable. The problem is where that money goes and what it does while it sits there. A standard savings account in most banks today offers an interest rate so low that it barely registers. When you factor in inflation, money sitting in a savings account is not growing at all. It is quietly losing value every single year. You feel safe because the number on the screen is not going down, but in real purchasing power terms, you're moving backward. This is the first thing nobody tells you about saving money the traditional way. When I stopped putting money into a low-interest savings account and redirected it into investments instead, something shifted almost immediately. Not in the numbers at first, but in my thinking. Suddenly, the money I was setting aside had a job to do. It was not just sitting there waiting to be spent on an emergency or a purchase I had been delaying. It was working. It was in the market, compounding quietly, growing in a way that a savings account never could. The psychological shift alone changed how I made every other financial decision. When you see money as something that works for you rather than something you just store, your entire relationship with it changes. The second thing that happened was that I became more intentional about spending. This sounds counterintuitive. You might assume that stopping traditional saving would lead to spending more carelessly. The opposite happened. When every dollar either goes toward living your life or goes toward building your future, there's no comfortable middle ground where money just sits doing nothing. You are forced to decide what actually matters. That clarity changes your spending in ways that no budgeting app or spreadsheet ever could. Intentional spending is not about restriction. It is about direction. The third thing that happened was that my net worth started growing noticeably faster. Not because I was earning more, not because I made any dramatic lifestyle change, but simply because the money I was setting aside was now in assets that appreciated over time, rather than sitting in an account that offered almost nothing in return. Compound growth is not a theory. It is a real force that you can feel when your money is positioned correctly. The difference between a savings account growing at less than 1% and an investment account growing at 7 to 10% over decades is not small. Over a 30-year period, it is the difference between having a little and having a lot. Now here is the important clarification. Stopping saving does not mean spending everything you earn. That is not what happened, and that is not what I am suggesting. What changed was the destination of the money, not the discipline. The same monthly amount that used to go into a savings account went instead into index funds, retirement contributions, and income-producing assets. The discipline stayed identical. The outcome changed completely. This distinction is critical because the advice to save money is not wrong in principle. It is wrong in execution when saving means parking your money somewhere it cannot grow. There is also something important to understand about emergency funds. Before redirecting savings into investments, having 3 to 6 months of living expenses in a liquid accessible account is genuinely necessary. That is not traditional saving for the sake of saving. That is a financial buffer that protects your investments from being interrupted by life. Once that buffer exists, every additional dollar saved in a low-interest account is a dollar that is underperforming. The emergency fund is the foundation. Everything above it should be working harder than a savings account allows. The financial industry benefits from you keeping money in savings accounts. Banks use your deposits to lend to others at higher rates, earning the difference while you receive almost nothing. This is not a conspiracy. It is simply how the system works. Understanding it means you can make better decisions within it. The moment you realize that your savings account is more valuable to the bank than it is to you, the logic of redirecting that money becomes obvious. What also happened when I stopped traditional saving was that I started learning more about money. When your savings are just a number in an account, there is nothing to engage with. When your money is in investments, you naturally begin to understand markets, returns, risk, and compounding. That education compounds the same way money does. The more you understand, the better your decisions become. And better decisions over time create dramatically different outcomes than average decisions repeated indefinitely. The final thing that happened, and this is the one that surprised me most, was that financial anxiety decreased rather than increased. You might expect that moving money out of a safe savings account and into investments would feel riskier and more stressful. In reality, watching money grow purposefully is far less anxiety-inducing than watching it sit still while inflation quietly erodes it. Progress feels better than stagnation, even when progress comes with short-term volatility. Knowing that your money is building something real replaces the false comfort of a savings account balance that looks safe but is quietly falling behind. The lesson is not that saving is bad. The lesson is that saving without a strategy is just delayed spending. Money that sits without growing is not preparing you for the future. It is simply waiting. And waiting is not the same as building. The people who build real wealth over time are not the ones who saved the most. They are the ones who put their money to work the earliest and left it there the longest. If you are saving money right now and feeling like the number is growing but your life is not changing, this is why. The habit is right. The destination is wrong. Redirect the discipline you already have toward assets that compound, and the same effort that has been producing slow results will begin producing results that actually move your life forward. Stop saving money the old way. Start making it work.